Hey everybody, I'm Paul Rabley, and in this video we'll talk about part 5 of 8, how to leave it to the kids. So I'm going to go over 8 different ways you can leave things to your kids. Most people don't think there's 8 ways, but there's probably more, but I'm going to go hit the kind of 8 high points. In this one, it's all about leaving an inheritance to your child in a trust and providing they get an income for some period of time or for the rest of their life. So let me go over how that gets set up, reasons people do it, consequences of doing it, and then we'll wrap it up. So how that gets done is either in your will through what's called a testamentary trust or in your revocable living trust. You say when you die or when your spouse dies, assets go to a trust, and you likely name some other third party as a trustee, maybe a friend, relative, trusted colleague, maybe corporate trustee. And you designate in your trust, how the income and principal is to be dispersed for your child over years or over their lifetime. So the specifics are, and this is for the folks who for one reason or another, they're just comfortable saying, I want my child to get a monthly income. And those parents typically don't want them to get a quarterly income. They don't want them to get an annual income. They want them to get a monthly income. I think it's because the children probably don't handle money well. And if the child can handle a monthly income because they can use it for their monthly rent or other monthly expenses they have. And where if they got the disbursement quarterly or annually, might mess things up. So it can be done a bunch of different ways. So assets are left from you in a trust for your child. The trust terms might say the child only gets the income that the trust assets produce. So if there's $400,000 of trust principal for your child, but that principal only produces maybe a 1% income, interest rates are not high, and maybe 2% income, then on that $400,000 of trust principal, maybe only $4,000 to $8,000 of income would be produced each year. Maybe you feel like that's not enough, that you'd want your child to get more. It seems like most parents, when they set it up for their children to get a monthly income, they got a pretty good feel for what's the right amount of income that they'd want their child to get. Some parents say, well, I think $2,000 a month is the right amount that my child should get after I pass away. That'll cover their rent or their mortgage. That'll, put food on the table, but it won't be so much that they'll develop bad habits, or they won't be able to quit their job. I want them to be productive. So some parents have a feeling for what's the right monthly amount. Now, under our example, $400,000 of principal, want the child to get $2,000 a month. That's $24,000 of annual income. $400,000 isn't likely to produce that much income. So then the trust might provide the child or the beneficiary gets all of the income and enough of the principal from the trust to reach that $2,000 amount or whatever that amount is that you set out. Now, couple of factors there are, and I never like this stuff to get too complicated, because then it gets complicated for the client, and quite frankly it gets complicated for the lawyer. Then ultimately down the road it's complicated for other people who may be trying to interpret this. But one worth noting item here is when you do set things up for someone to get a set amount per month, for example, there's a decision of, do you want them to get just the $2,000 a month for the rest of their life or until the money runs out? Or do you want to factor in some kind of inflation adjustment? This thing might go on for the next 30 years, and 30 years from now, $2,000 ain't going to buy what $2,000 will buy today. So maybe you factor in some type of inflation adjustment that has to be written into the trust, so that maybe, if it's 30 years from now, they're getting, based on some type of inflation adjustment factor, maybe they're getting $3,500 a month or whatever that inflation adjustment factor works out to. So keep that in mind. All right, so the reasons people do this are, you want your child's inheritance to last a long time. You fear that if they got it, they blow it. And you want to specify kind of what they get from month to month, because you have a feel like what's right. There is another issue here, that when you set up this trust so that your child gets a certain amount of income for life until his amount runs out, you will need to make a decision whether you would want the trustee to have discretion to give the child more if the child needs it for certain circumstances, the common standards, or health, education, maintenance, and support. A lot of parents don't like, while they trust the trustee and they have incredible trust in the trustee, they don't want to give that trustee the discretion to give the child more under any circumstances, because they feel like the child may badger the trustee to exercise the trustee's discretion to distribute more principal to your child. So a lot of parents decide, no, let's not put that trustee discretion in there. So what are you doing by this? Yeah, you're protecting the child from themselves. You're specifying them, you're enabling them to get a monthly income for the rest of their life, which could be important to you or to them. You're likely protecting that remaining principal from divorce if your child gets divorced, and you're probably providing some type of lawsuit and creditor protection for your child as well. Now, once the disbursements are made to your child, all bets are off. They'll do whatever they do with it, but while that principal remains in the trust, likely protected from their divorces, likely protected from their lawsuits, but it depends on what state you're in, what the other terms of the trust are, what your state's trust law provides as far as some type of lawsuit or creditor protection. All right, so the summary there: some parents just want to provide their children a monthly income for the rest of the child's lifetime, or at least until the child's portion run out, and all that starts when the parents pass away. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you follow up on that. Make sure you also do a couple of other things that are real important to me so I can keep this up and keep educating as many people as we can. Want to make sure you hit the subscribe button, the red square button or rectangular button, hit the notification bell so YouTube will keep you informed however YouTube does it as we create more educational videos. And then thumbs up always helps. Even comments below on your thoughts on kind of what seems to make the most sense, particularly when there's a child who's not real responsible with money. You're starting to see there's different options, what options make the most sense to you. So I'm Paul Rabelais. Go out and absorb all that information and then get your legal affairs in order, and y'all have a great day. Y'all take care.